It's changed me, each one replacing, like night into morning. I miss the open air, the going anywhere, riding with you, like we used to. Guess I'm better off alone, never know when I'll get home, but I know that home's where the heart is. Guess I'm better off this way, moving to better days, but I know that home's where the heart is. So fragile, like it was built to break.
What is going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in to our NBA live stream. We have the slate locking here in 2 hours from now, but we're going to give you guys a strategy, a way to attack the slate, because there is an edge. Me and TJ actually talked about this before we got on here, so let's go ahead and break it down before we get started. Guys, MLB, League of Legends. There's League of Legends playoffs going on, believe it or not, and we are covering all of that on Patreon. So if you guys are interested in any of that, grab our favorite leverage spots, our Discord chat, all that for $20 a month with coaches, everything you guys need to succeed in DFS. Again, Daily Grind Fantasy Sports is all about changing your mindset, grabbing leverage stacks in each one of those sports, and leveraging yourself against the field and taking down GPP contests. If you are new to that mindset, guys, I highly recommend $20 a month is the best investment you guys will have in any part of this industry. Again, $20 a month today. TJ, how are you doing?
Hi. Good. How are you?
Doing great. So let's go ahead. I know you have this all written down. Let's go ahead and talk about the playoff scenario. Again, this slate is solely dependent on this, okay? TJ's going to give us the lowdown here, and then we'll go ahead and break down the rest of the games.
Yeah, so I think that for today, obviously, attacking the 4 teams that have a chance at playoffs or making the playoffs is the most important thing to do. We saw last night, I mean, me especially, Embiid didn't return after in the middle of the second quarter. I think he hurt his wrist, but easily could have came back in. Didn't come back in the game. We had the Heat starters play the second half didn't play the second half of last night, screwed up a bunch of lineups for people. So tonight is pretty evident that we want to attack teams that are guaranteed minutes. That's the biggest thing right now that's going on right in the NBA. So we have 4 teams fighting for that 8 and 9 spot in the Western Conference. So those are the teams that I'm looking at, and I'm really only looking at 3 of them. So I'm going to break it down for you guys right now. The Portland Trailblazers, they have the best chance of making this 8 seed. They control their own destiny. All they need to do to get the 8 seed, so not even make the 8-9 play-in, to secure the 8 seed, all they have to do is beat the Nets. So they play the Nets tonight. They can also get the 8 seed if the Grizzlies, Suns, and Spurs all lose, if they lose to the Nets. And then the Blazers can get the 9 seed if they lose to Brooklyn, and if 2 of the teams between the Grizzlies, Suns, and Spurs lose. So basically, the Trailblazers win and they're in, so obviously that's a team that I'm going to be targeting for tonight. Then we have Memphis. Memphis can obtain the 8 seed if they beat the Bucks and then the Trailblazers lose to the Nets. The Grizzlies can also get the play-in and get the 9 seed if they lose to Milwaukee, as long as the Suns and Spurs both lose. Okay, so that's the Grizzlies situation. Then we have the Suns. 7-0 so far in the bubble, been incredible. They can still obtain the 8 seed if they beat the Mavericks and then the Blazers and Grizzlies lose. So that's how the Suns get the 8 seed. For the Suns to get the 9 seed, if they do lose to the Mavericks, Phoenix can get the 9 seed if they win. So Phoenix needs to win. So Phoenix can still obtain the 9 seed if they win, and then the Blazers or Grizzlies lose. And then we have Matt's Spurs, who are on the outside looking in currently. They can get the 8 seed if they beat the Jazz, and then all 3 teams, being the Blazers, Grizzlies, and Suns, lose. And then for the Spurs to obtain the 9 seed, they need to win, and then 2 of the 3 teams between the Blazers, Grizzlies, and Suns need to lose. So I know that's a lot to kind of, digest. So the basic way that I can break it down for today's slate, the 3 teams that I definitely want to attack are 2 teams from the 4 o'clock games, being Phoenix and Memphis, and then the 9 o'clock game being the Blazers. The Spurs, if the Suns and the Grizzlies both win at 4 o'clock, the Spurs are mathematically out, because they need 2 of 3 teams to lose in order to make that 9. So if both teams between Memphis and Phoenix win, the Spurs are out. And they'll know if they're in or out before they tip off at 6:30. So who knows what Pop will do if Phoenix and Memphis both win and they're mathematically out. We could see, DeRozan sit. We could see Murray sit. We could see Derek White sit. So I'm a little hesitant to go in on the Spurs. So the 3 teams that I really am targeting are Phoenix, Memphis, and Portland. I hope everybody got that. It was a lot more smooth me explaining it when it was just Matt and I. I was trying to break it down again.
No, that was actually pretty smooth.
So, yeah, so the Spurs are going to know if they're eliminated up at the tip. So that's why, for me, I think targeting the Trailblazers, the Grizzlies, and the Suns are the move tonight. And then trying to find, those are the studs at least that you might want to pay up for. And then I think you can find some nice value in that Pelicans, with that Pelicans roster in Utah. So that's kind of where my head's at.
I'll tell you where my head's at right now. These guys are getting ruthless in the chat. First of all, you're about to get kicked out if you say that one more time. Dallas is eliminating Phoenix 100%. Milwaukee is going down Memphis' throats, and San Antonio is going to come in the clutch. Okay, so get out of here with that.
But Spurs will be eliminated by their tip-off.
Yeah, here's what we're going to do DFS wise. Okay, Phoenix, Memphis, San Antonio, and Portland should be the only teams, at least in my opinion, in your player pool tonight. Reason is because there's so much uncertainty with, like, let's just take Dallas for instance. You take Doncic, he might not play the entire game. He might not even play a fourth of the game. He literally might just start. We don't even know if he's playing yet. Probably will. But even if he does, he's not going to be at full strength. He's not going to outscore somebody like Devin Booker. He's not going to outscore somebody like, I don't know, John Morant. He probably won't because these guys are, like TJ said, these guys are going to be going all out, playing full starter minutes and securing this win. So if you're just talking from a GPP perspective, you're just targeting those three teams that TJ said, and if the Spurs aren't eliminated by tip-off, which they won't be, include them as well. Another great player would be DeMar DeRozan, another great play, right? He's going to probably carry the team. And your automatic lock, now we can start looking at percentage ownership. If we switch over, your automatic lock of the day is going to be Damian Lillard. Somebody like McCollum from the late game is a great target as well. Nurkic, another great target. You're talking about guys that are just great value-wise. I know TJ's dug more into the numbers. I guess as far as your actual cash locks, where are we starting?
So for me, I'm locking in Dame and I'm locking in Booker. Those two make the most obvious sense to me. Yeah, we've seen Dame over these last couple games since that Clippers mishap of him missing those free throws, the back and forth on Instagram with Paul George and Bev, and he's just erupted. So even at 11-2, I mean, he's going to play 40 minutes. So lock in Dame for cash, lock in Booker for cash as well. He's been playing lights out. Again, 9-8, doesn't matter about the price tag. Those are the two guys that I want to pay up for. And then from there, we can still afford another stud, whether it's Nurkic, whether it's John Morant, or you can even save some money and go to Ayton. That's entirely up to you. I'm kind of leaning toward John Morant right now, but I could definitely see myself getting in one of Nurk or Ayton. So that's where my head's at. I'm locking in Lillard and I'm locking in Booker, especially for cash. And then one of Nurk, Ayton, and John Morant.
Yeah, you gotta think at this point in the season, and this is just overall, who's going to get those guaranteed minutes, and like we just said, it's going to be those guys from those teams, and targeting superstars on those teams, like your John Morants, like your DeMar DeRozans, if he does still have hope, Ayton, all those guys. I think, from a perspective of what we've experienced these past couple of days, this slate is actually pretty straightforward. Stepping back and looking at everything, people are still going to try to cram into these teams that have all this value, with Dallas, all these guys being ruled out, even Brooklyn. I mean, you can make a case for like somebody like LeVert, but in the grand scheme of things, you kind of got to use common sense when looking at this slate. Who's going to get those guaranteed minutes, and what are the safest plays? Yes, somebody like LeVert could come out and play the full minutes and go all out and exceed value. Sure, somebody from Utah could come out and, like Donovan Mitchell, and play the full game. But the reality is these guys have really nothing to play for. Take your guaranteed minutes from these teams and move on. I think overall this slate should be there's a huge edge. If you're strictly just getting rid of those teams and playing the teams that are those three teams that are playing for a playoff spot, I guess really nothing else needs to be said. I guess as far as GPP plays, TJ, where are you looking?
Well, I definitely think I just want to go back to cash real quick because I definitely think tonight's going to be stars and scrubs. If you're paying up for Dame, Booker, and Ja, it's really tough to or money-wise what you have remaining. Mm-hmm. So I think it's pretty important to keep an eye on like Porzingis is doubtful now, so like if Boban starts, that's definitely a good piece at 3,500. And then, like I said, Utah, we have Conley out and Gobert. Gobert's that main piece being out, playing against the Spurs. A guy like Tony Bradley, he might not start. They might start Ed Davis. Gobert was out last Saturday or last Friday, if I believe correctly. I don't remember. August 7th. What was August 7th? So it was last Saturday, yeah. Wait, is today Thursday? Today's Thursday. Okay, so
Yes.
It was last Friday. I keep thinking today's Friday.
Seems like it.
Yes, so last Friday, actually, ironically, against the Spurs, Gobert was out. Ed Davis started, but Tony Bradley actually started the second half, played 22 minutes. So I definitely like Tony Bradley as a plug-in, too, as a cheaper guy. Unfortunately, him and Boban both only have center eligibility. And then I'm also looking at like the Pelicans for cash. Obviously, we have Drew out, we have Ingram out, we have Zion out, we potentially have Josh Hart out. I mean, if Josh Hart's out, who knows if they start Lonzo. That being the last game, too, there's definitely some leverage there. And the guys I'm looking at are going to be Jahlil Okafor and Jackson Hayes. And I think I'm kind of leaning toward Ja right now. Jackson Hayes, I would assume, would start, but I think Jahlil will get more minutes. So I definitely like Jahlil as a plug-in, too, as a cheaper guy for cash tonight. And then, like I said, Josh Hart, if he's out, then that means more minutes for guys like Echuan Moore, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. So just keep an eye on those Pelicans guys, those cheapies, because if you're rostering Dame, Booker, and then one of Nurk, Ja, and Ayton, you're going to need some of those cheaper plays. And I think that Utah, the Pelicans, and then potentially Boban is the way to go for that.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of Boban questions. Are you prioritizing him in your cash builds?
If he's going to start, then yes. So we'll know that prior to tip.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He played last game he started. Where's my I have 1,000 popcorn machines up again. Last game he started when Porzingis was out. He played 25 minutes, which is kind of a lot for him. And he was very productive, obviously. I think he was 3K. He had like 40 DK points. So if he's going to guarantee start and get 20 minutes, then yeah, you're going to start him. I think he's going to be very chalky in cash. So if you want to play a GPP and you want to get off of him, maybe go with a guy like Tony Bradley or one of those Pelicans bigs that I mentioned. I'm pretty sure all of them are only center eligibility, which kind of stinks. So you'll be able to get two of them potentially if you're not playing a Nurk or you're not playing Ayton. Actually, Ayton has power forward eligibility, so that's good. So does Nurk. Okay, perfect. So you can get two of those bigs that I alluded to if you are rostering Boban. But yeah, if Boban's starting for cash, for sure for me.
Yeah, I think it comes down to game script at that point because Boban has been known to play, like you said, upwards of or the lower 20s, and he's been known to play 0, even when with all these injuries. So it really does come down to whether he starts or not. We should get that We should get that during the stream, to be honest. We should.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think that totally is dependent on if he starts or not. So, if he is not starting, we will start to look at this later slate for value, and like you just alluded to, the Pelicans become intriguing and all that. Now, is late swapping a good strategy for this slate as well? I know we mentioned our core should come from all these other cash plays, but even in cash, should you hold off on your late swapping? I guess I'm asking you.
Yeah, you can. But I think for cash, if Boban's in, I think you lock him in there. I think you get Booker. I think you get potentially Ja. And then, yeah, I mean, most of my plays will probably come from the later games, actually. Like, I'm intrigued by Utah's cheap guys. I'm intrigued by, obviously, Portland as a whole. And I'm intrigued by those Pelicans cheap guys. So, all right, Cam Johnson available to play. So that's good. We already knew that was coming. So, yeah, I think late swap, I can see myself rostering maybe 3 to 4 guys from these 4 o'clock games and then, waiting on some other news. I think late swap's going to be pretty pivotal. See what I did there? Pivot, because you're pivoting.
Get it? Yeah,
it'll be pretty pivotal in those.
I think you got the quiet laugh one.
In GPPs.
That's not the right button.
Yeah, for cash, I kind of just have an idea as to what I'll be doing, and I think it's pretty clear and concise currently.
That's what she
as
said.
long as no other crazy news drops, which probably will happen. So yeah, like I said, I think it's pretty straightforward tonight. I think it's those 3 teams that I said for cash because I wouldn't get too I'm personally not rostering any Spurs for cash, just because, like we alluded to, they could be out by the time they tip off. So who knows what Pop will do if that happens. So again, for cash, I think you're attacking Phoenix. I think you're attacking Memphis. I think you're attacking Portland. Those are your pay up stud guys. And then the cheaper guys, Boban, if he's starting, I'll definitely lock him in. Tony Bradley, I like for Utah. And then for the Pelicans, one of those bigs, Jackson Hayes or Jaleel Okafor. And then even guys like Etuan Moore, NWA, if he starts, we'll have to see what's going on with Josh Hart. So there's definitely leverage to be had with that Pelicans game tipping off late and still not being clear on Josh Hart. And then I think if Hart's out, I wouldn't be surprised if Lonzo sat too. So
while you were talking, I was trying to find the button for the quiet laugh, and I hit that's what she said button instead. So that was kind of funny. Yeah, that was that was a funny.
I almost wore my Michael Scott sweatshirt.
Oh, nice. That would have been perfect.
Yeah, I don't know where I think my Daily Grind sweatshirt's in the
trash. Don't do that to me. Come on.
Never. That honest to God is one of the comfiest sweatshirts I have.
No, my parents said the same thing because they actually bought one.
It's unbelievably comfy.
Yeah, I still need to get the sweatshirt, but I got the shirts. We're not trying to do advertising, guys. I do apologize. So I'm thinking of a scenario here. The Blazers are in regardless, right? Is that right? So I mean they're not in. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. If San Antonio, Memphis, and Phoenix all lose, is Dallas in? Or not Dallas? I'm sorry, Portland. Is Portland in?
Yes.
Okay, they're in. So there's still a scenario where Damian Lillard could what?
It's not gonna happen.
I know.
Yeah,
this.
There is.
There's an if, but
there is. Yep.
Damian Lillard could technically sit tonight.
Potentially, yeah. Suck. So and they'll know that at tip. I mean, I can bet my life on it that one of those teams is going to win. But yes, God forbid the Grizzlies, Suns, and Spurs all lose. The Trailblazers get to tip off at 9 o'clock, already have the 8 seed secured, and yeah, you could see all those starters play 0 minutes. So Matt, if you want to enter a single entry GPP and just completely fade Portland,
you already know where my head is here. So
yeah, and all those teams lose, then Portland could definitely sit all their starters, and you'll look like a genius.
Yeah.
Like I said, I guarantee you it doesn't happen, but
no, yeah, there's a strong likelihood that won't happen.
We've seen crazier things, so.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess let's just kind of step back. I know you're gonna kill me, TJ, but at the end or near the end of the stream, when we get more viewers, if you could explain the playoff picture one more time for everybody, just before we go. Yeah, we'll go ahead and wait for everybody who just joined and is all over the place or kind of confused. We've been talking about what if scenarios. We'll go ahead and explain that one more time at the very end. I guess before we do that, GPP plays, your completely under the radar plays. Are there anybody that you're really interested in?
It's just such a crapshoot, and I was so high on Bam and Jimmy yesterday, and then they played 16 minutes each or 14 minutes each. They didn't even touch the court in the second half. Embiid went out. I had high hopes for him. It's just so tough to be take a shot on Luka, have leverage on, because Luka's going to be barely owned.
Right.
That's
according to my leverage sheet, that is a good leverage spot. Yeah.
I'm showing Luka at 4%. Yeah. So he's a great pivot off of a guy like Dame, but Dame's going to get 35 plus minutes, guaranteed, and Luka could play 20. So I just don't think that pivoting off of those studs that I mentioned in Dame and Booker is viable tonight. Any other night, for sure. A guy like.
All right, so I'll give you something. So since Lillard obviously is going to play 35, 36 minutes, let's just hypothetically say Lillard sucks, which is still possible. And at 11.2K, that really is a high price tag for somebody like Lillard. If this was any other slate, I'd be fade Lillard. That doesn't make sense. 11.2 is a little crazy. Yep. McCollum then becomes intriguing as a pivot because the same team, we know he's going to play. 15.4%, great. Carmelo Anthony, 6.3K. Nobody's rostering him tonight. Sorry, nobody is. 6.7K. Trent, 5.1K. Heck no. Nobody in the right mind is going to roster Trent tonight. Nurkic is going to be cashy. All these guys, these one-offs of the superstars on these teams. So you look at Memphis. You go to Valanciunas. Valanciunas is under the radar somewhat. He's carrying 28%, but there's centers that are carrying way higher ownership than him. Dylan Brooks, nobody's going to be rostering him at 5.5. Get those shooters. Get those guys that are going to get hot. They're obviously still have something to play for. Kyle Anderson I saw get mentioned, 8.6%. Always a great GPP play because at 4.4, all he has to go out and do is hit a couple shots, get a couple rebounds, and he's hitting that price tag easily. Look at these teams that still have something to play for. Spurs, if they're still in the picture, DeJounte Murray, fantastic. Well, he's actually carrying decent ownership. DeMar DeRozan is still carrying 22.9%. So talk about superstar talent right there at very low ownership. Lonnie Walker, if he's still in the starting lineup, 4.5K. Obviously, all these guys are definitely in play. Hurdle, I mean, he killed it the other night, 5.7K. Nobody's touching him at that price tag. So all of these guys going down the list on these teams that still have something to play for, I think become very, very intriguing targets.
Yeah, for some reason when you said any GPP plays, I thought we were talking like away from those teams, but I think tonight GPP plays are definitely going to be those lower owned guys on those teams that have playoff potential to play for. So everybody you just alluded to, I'm definitely on board with. Because if Dame's going to be carrying 58% and you're going to get, I know McCollum's dealing with the rib injury, but if you're going to give me CJ McCollum at 18%, like, yeah, take a chance on that. Like CJ can get hot too. I know it's been Dame's world these last couple days, but we've seen CJ get hot. So again, the injury is a little scary. I think it's his back. Sorry, for some reason I thought it was his rib. So these teams that have meaningful games or the meaningful game to play, those lower owned guys are the guys you want to take for GPPs tonight. And then just like random fillers on like Milwaukee, who knows what's going to happen with them. I mean, I see Middleton and Bledsoe projected at 22 minutes each. Like they could play 25, they could play 18. So I'm not taking a chance on any of those guys. The ownership on those teams is crazy. I'm seeing Middleton at 0.16%, Matt. I'm seeing Bledsoe at 0.1, like Brook Lopez. Just they're going to be just completely unowned. And tonight, I think, rightfully so, they shouldn't be.
Yeah, I allude back to, are they playing minutes? And I'm one of those guys that says if you're going to be playing more minutes, just like in football, if you're getting more snaps, you're probably going to be in a better situation to succeed, regardless of how you actually are player-wise. Like if you're a good player, obviously it's going to benefit you more. But if you're out on the floor more, there's obviously going to be a ball or two that goes into your favor, and you get a rebound, you get some more points, right? That's how it rolls in basketball. It's all about usage. It's all about minutes. And Milwaukee, those guys are heavy in usage, but they aren't high in minutes. You look at somebody like Damian Lillard, high in usage, high in minutes. You look at McCollum, high in usage, high in minutes. You got to connect those two, and obviously those players are in better positions to succeed. So that kind of needs to be your mindset going into tonight when you're rostering all these players. Just kind of find the happy medium between those two. And, eliminate those guys out of your player pool that make 0 sense. Those guys on Utah, like Donovan Mitchell, should not be out there for that long tonight. He really should not. They have nothing to play for. Guys like that. Doncic, he really shouldn't be in your player pool. I mean, he honestly shouldn't. He shouldn't be playing that many minutes. There's no way he's hitting that 11.4 price tag with somebody like Lillard when he has something to play for. So, I mean, there's 8.9% right out of the way. I'm showing his ownership actually went up, TJ, which is weird after I refreshed the page. I don't know what you were showing. Doncic.
Interesting.
Yeah. Can you show ownership for Portland and the Suns again? Absolutely. Let's go ahead and do that. I'll show Portland. So let me just name off a few of the higher owned guys. Damian Lillard at 40.5%. If it's that low, that is crazy. I don't get that ownership. Nurkic, 40.5. I mean, that becomes a GPP option at that point. I don't really know what the mindset is behind that ownership. 32.5% for Nurkic, 15.4 for McCollum, which is why I like him so much. Melo still sitting there at 6.3K. Nobody's touching that price tag. 6.7%. Collins, how many minutes is he projected? 28 minutes, still at 4.2K. Sure, why not? 6.1%. Gary Trent, still projected at 33 minutes. He's a shooter, 5.1K, 4.7%. Whiteside, is he still playing? 20 minutes. Nah, that's probably the only guy. 4.5K, even him, 2.5%. I don't know. Everybody becomes a good GPP option on these teams. If we switch over to Phoenix, we're looking at this. I really like Ricky Rubio. I really like him. Actually, at 7.3K, 12.2% is way too low owned for him. Bridges, yeah, I'm 5.3K, even him, I guess you can make a stance for. 13.3% owned. Saric pops on our spreadsheet, or at least on mine, 25.5. projected minutes right now, 5.2K in general. So he just has to average a point or fantasy point per minute. He could definitely do that at 2.7% own. So all these guys are great.
I agree.
All right, I guess we can go back and answer some questions, and then you can go ahead and give the playoff picture one more time. You want to go ahead and do that?
Yep.
All right, so let's go ahead and answer some questions here. I'll ignore the Spurs hate for you guys. Bucks bench question mark. Yeah, we touched base on that a little bit earlier. All these guys become fillers. I would say target their bench more than the starters, to be honest, because if they're going to get more of a run, it would be the bench that would. Like I wouldn't target somebody like Brook Lopez at 5.3. I went through that entire list of guys in the 5K range that are so much better. Did Paul George just get ruled out? He got ruled out, right? Or not Paul George, sorry, George Hill.
Yeah, George Hill's up.
Yeah, George Hill is out, so his minutes haven't been reflected.
Honest out. Wes Matthews out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like the minutes haven't been updated. All these guys are projected in the mid-20 range.
Well, I think it's just because no one really has a gauge on.
No, yeah, I get it.
So I think like putting people at low to mid 20 minutes is just like, yeah, it's a safe assumption, you know.
So somebody like Connaughton, very intriguing. I mean, could definitely have a ceiling game because he could be out there for upwards of 28, 30 minutes. Why not?
Yeah, I'd look at like guys like DJ Wilson, Sterling Brown. I feel like those guys would be like a decent bet to play like mid to upward 20 minutes. Those are two guys I like. Yeah, Connaughton's been logging some minutes, but I wouldn't expect him to play like high 20s. If anybody's going to do that, I'm looking at like DJ Wilson, Sterling Brown.
DiVincenzo's there.
Yeah, I think those. Yeah, I guess you could throw Dante in there too, but I'm really looking at Sterling Brown and DJ Wilson.
Yeah, I mean, and you're talking about bottom of the barrel price tags too. I mean, 3.8K and 3K. So those could easily hit value.
For sure.
Next question. No Boban and Cash. We went over that. If he's starting, you need to lock him in. I mean, you just need to at that point. You can't really look away from that 3 point. I think he's 5K.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3.5K. You can't look away from that. What he did last game, I think he put up, 40 DK points or something crazy like that. Yeah.
I mean, he's a 1.33 fantasy point per minute.
I was about to say there was a season where he was averaging more fantasy points per minute than Anthony Davis while he was on the floor, which is insane.
Yeah. He gets the extra boost. It's because of his ears, man. He can just hear so well, and it just like he's just dominant.
He's gonna find this clip.
Everything to do with his ears, and his hands. He's got the biggest hands.
When he played for the Spurs, whenever he did, I was at a Wizards home game, and I actually was on the court while he was standing straight up, and I was just in disbelief. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, he's a very tall human. Just a big boy.
We actually don't have too many questions here. Gonna have to decide between Bradley and Okafor from Sano. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, those cheap guys. Like I said, for cash, I think you lock in Boban if he's starting, and then you're gonna have to sift and decide between Tony Bradley and Jahlil Okafor for the Pelicans, or Jackson Hayes if you want to. I'd rather go with Jahlil right now. So yeah, you're definitely gonna have to pick between one. I'd probably say Tony Bradley might be safer. I mean, both of them are very good fantasy point per minute players. With Gobert off the court, Tony Bradley's a 1.13, and then with all those injuries everybody sitting out for the Pelicans, Okafor is a 1.28. Right now they have Okafor projected at 18 minutes, and then Jackson Hayes projected at 25. But last game, Jackson Hayes played 22, and Okafor played 25. So I don't think that 18 minutes is accurate. We'll have to wait and see. That's kind of why I'm thinking Tony Bradley might be safer, but I think Ja would have the opportunity to be more productive. So yeah, you're definitely gonna have to make a tough choice there.
We just got a comment. I did a World Car commercial with Boban and Danny Green. If that's actually true, that's amazing.
That's incredible.
Who's the cash spend up after Damon Booker? All right, do you know what? I think that leads into you giving the playoff scenario, because I think that's going to answer that question.
Okay.
Let's For anybody who just joined the chat, you're gonna want to listen to the playoff scenarios because this is going to dictate how the slate's gonna go. Okay, so TJ's gonna give the rundown here real quick.
All right, so here's how each team can make this play-in series. Obviously, the 8 seed and the 9 seed will play in a play-in series. At the end of the day, the 8 seed will only need to win 1 game. The 9 seed will have to win 2 straight in order to make the playoffs, okay? So the Trailblazers control their own destiny. They're technically the 8 seed right now. If they beat the Nets tonight... What? Did you say something?
I didn't say anything, sorry.
Oh, sorry. So the Blazers are in the 8 seed right now. They beat the Nets. They get the 8 seed. They can still get the 8 seed if the Grizzlies, Suns, and Spurs all lose. The Blazers can also get the 9 seed if they do lose to Brooklyn, as long as the two of the Grizzlies, Suns, and Spurs lose. Okay? So that's the Blazers. Basically, all you need to know is if the Trailblazers win, they're in. Okay? They tip off at 9. If the Grizzlies, Suns, and Spurs all lose before the Trailblazers tip off at 9, they get the 8 seed. So there is the potential that Matt alluded to earlier that, yes, the Trailblazers could potentially bench their starters if the Grizzlies, Suns, and Spurs all lose. Don't bet on that. It's not going to happen. So just know that if the Blazers win tonight against the Nets, they get the 8 seed, so they have something to play for, obviously. Then we have the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies get the 8 seed. They need to beat the Bucks, and they need the Blazers to lose to the Nets, okay? That's how the Grizzlies obtain the 8 seed. The Grizzlies can also, though, still get the 9 seed if they do lose to the Bucks, as long as the Suns and Spurs both lose, okay? So the Grizzlies also have a lot to play for. The Phoenix Suns, who have been the best team in the bubble at 7-0, they've been great, they can get the 8 seed if they beat the Mavericks, and then the Blazers and Grizzlies both lose. Phoenix can also get the 9 seed if they win against the Mavericks and either the Blazers or Grizzlies lose, okay? And then we have the Spurs, who have, I feel like, the weirdest scenario out of all. Mm-hmm. So the Spurs tip at 6:30. We have Memphis and Phoenix tipping off at 4. If Memphis and Phoenix both win, the Spurs are mathematically eliminated. So in order for the Spurs to get the 8 seed, they need to beat the Jazz Thursday night, and they need all 3 teams to lose, being the Blazers, Grizzlies, and Suns. For the Spurs to get the 9 seed, they need to win and then have 2 of the teams between the Blazers, Grizzlies, and Suns lose. So that is why for cash, and I think for GPPs, well, let's just talk about cash. That's why I think for cash tonight, you want to play guys from the Blazers, guys from the Suns, and guys from the Grizzlies. I think that makes the most sense. Because the Spurs can technically know that they're eliminated by tip-off, we don't know what Pop would potentially do if both the Grizzlies and Suns lose and the Spurs are therefore eliminated. So that's the one thing that scares me. So that is why I'm targeting the Trailblazers, I'm targeting the Grizzlies, and I'm targeting the Suns.
I put you front and center on our screen for that. I moved you over to the middle there. All right. Hopefully it didn't give you stage fright. So
nope, I didn't even notice.
So to kind of recap everything, you want to play guys with minutes. The guys that are going to get minutes are the guys who are playing for a playoff spot, other than the Spurs. The Spurs we don't know yet. So Phoenix, Memphis, and Portland. Those guys are guaranteed minutes. They're starters. They're superstars. Booker, people like John Morant, Damian Lillard, McCollum. All those guys are guaranteed to play starter minutes. You want guaranteed minutes in this situation. You don't want guys like Doncic. You don't want guys from Milwaukee like Bledsoe and Middleton, at least in cash, okay, and possibly even GPP. You don't want guys from those teams like Mitchell that have nothing to play for, okay, because their minutes are not guaranteed. We're looking for guaranteed minutes. Not saying that they're going to go out there and they're not going to play well. Definitely could, okay? But if you're looking for guaranteed minutes, because that equals DFS, the likelihood of doing well in DFS, okay, you want guaranteed minutes. Okay, so I think that should answer most of the questions on who you should be playing from cash. Honestly, if you're looking at a player pool, go ahead and just get rid of everybody but those 3 teams, because that should be pretty safe. You're looking at upside of minutes. I'm not saying get rid of everybody, but a majority of your players, a bulk, your core should come from those teams, especially the low-owned guys. The low-owned guys have high ceilings because of their minutes. All right?
Matt, I think a good GPP option would be to take some of those Spurs. You know, the reason that I think taking the Spurs is unsafe is because, like I said, Phoenix and Memphis both play at 4. The Spurs will know by tip if they're eliminated or not. And the reason I think it's unsafe and I'm assuming that Phoenix and Memphis both win. Dallas doesn't have Porzingis. They don't have Powell. We don't know what Luka's minutes are going to be like, Tim Hardaway. So I think Phoenix is getting a kind of depleted Dallas team that isn't really interested in competing in that game very hard. And then we have Memphis going up against the Bucks. The Bucks bench is very good, but no Giannis, no George Hill, no Ilyasova. We don't know the minutes for Bledsoe. We don't know the minutes for Middleton. So again, Memphis going 100% and the Bucks going 60%. Same situation in that Phoenix and Dallas game. If one of those teams lose, I think the Spurs ownership might be less than obviously the Blazers, Memphis, and Phoenix. And if one of those teams between Memphis and Phoenix does lose, and then the Spurs do have something to hypothetically play for, I think you might have them at a little lower ownership than those other three teams, and I think that's a really good leverage spot.
That's why I think somebody like DeMar DeRozan becomes very intriguing at that spot.
And like I said, Matt, who knows what Pop's going to do if Phoenix and Memphis wins? He still could roll out his starters. I mean,
it's the last game of the season at that point.
He could have the mindset that, hey, guys, look, we're not even going to look what Phoenix is doing. We're not even going to look at what Memphis is doing. All we're going to do out is go out and play. We're going to play to win, and that's it. So, I mean, I don't know. That could definitely be a possibility. So maybe that's why some of those Spurs are carrying the ownership that we were kind of surprised at. I think you said DeRozan was like in the 20%.
Yep.
Murray was in the 20%. So that could be the mindset that the Spurs are taking. So, I mean, for cash, like I said, Phoenix, Memphis, and Portland. But we don't know the mindset of the Spurs. We don't know if they're going to be eliminated before tip, and we don't know if they're going to know if they're eliminated before tip. Pop might not let that be a possibility. So, there's a lot of unanswered questions, so that's why I think those three teams are the safest to target.
And we didn't even mention this. If we're looking at strictly Vegas, Vegas is projecting all these teams that still have something to play for. They're projecting them to win and win convincingly. So that's also noteworthy, with maybe the exception of Memphis at -3 points. If you're looking at the spreads and the pace of the game, we're looking at the Phoenix game and also the Trailblazers at the highest total over-unders right now. So if you guys want to take that into consideration, Phoenix and then the Trailblazers, a lot of points to be scored in those games.
Yeah. I mean, and if one of these teams between Phoenix and Memphis is going to lose, I think it's Memphis.
Yeah.
I want Memphis to lose. I'd like to see Phoenix and I'd like to see Phoenix and Portland play in that.
I want to see Lillard win this thing, even though it's not going to happen. But
so Porzingis out, we know that. Marvin Williams with no Ilyasova, I don't mind that as a GPP play, but not for cash. Spamming in more than once.
The Nightbot's still getting on people. That's one thing I need to get to on my to-do list. I need to get to that Nightbot. His settings are a little off.
Yeah, you too. Do you guys have more interest in Cam Johnson or Mikal Bridges? Oof, both have been playing pretty good so far in the bubble. I kind of lean Mikal Bridges right now. Matt, the ownership looks a little bit lower on Bridges too.
Let me look at that.
I mean, it's pretty much a toss-up. They're both going to play low 30 minutes. I think I'd lean Mikal Bridges right there, but it's a tough call. Like I said, they're both going to get the minutes. So
they're the same price tag. Yeah. They're literally at the same ownership.
Yeah, they'll both play low end 30, I think, right around 30. I think if one of them's going to play more, it'd be Bridges. So I would take the minutes there, and I'd go with him.
I think fantasy point per minute wise, I think Cameron Johnson's even a little bit better. It's literally neck and neck. I wish I could give you a straight answer.
Cam is 0.81 and Bridges is 0.71.
Yeah.
So Cam is a little better in that area, but I think Bridges will play a couple more minutes, so I think it kind of evens out.
Who to love at the power forward position? I wish you would specify cash or GPP. I know for cash, there's some forward eligible guys from Portland.
Yeah, probably Ayton or Nurk.
Nurkic, 100% Nurkic, I'd say.
Yeah.
Nurkic, Ayton, both great options. I believe on my cheat sheet I have them listed as well.
I think Nurk's going to be a little higher owned.
All right. Kyle Korver might be a good GPP. Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
he's anybody one of those from that game.
He's one of the older vets, though, so it's
Yeah. There's really no reason.
Yeah. I still think from Milwaukee, for me, it's just something I want to avoid just because it is a crapshoot. But, yeah, if you can get exposure to some of those cheap guys from Milwaukee, take a chance. Sterling Brown, Kyle Korver, DJ Wilson, like guys like that we know don't get as many minutes, but in this type of situation could play mid-20s. Like, yeah, I'm on board with that.
Who is going out hurt tonight out of the 4 main team? Like, who's going to – okay.
It's Memphis and the Spurs.
Yeah. All right.
I think I wouldn't be surprised if Memphis lost.
I think the real – like, if you look at a real chance of getting upset, Memphis has the best chance, and obviously the Spurs do because Utah is still a pretty darn good team.
Well, no. So it's a pretty like Phoenix could lose if Luka plays, but if Luka only plays the first half, like if he's getting the treatment that LeBron got today, LeBron obviously only played the first half against Sacramento.
You can only point at the fact too. I mean, Porzingis is sitting. They're not. I don't think they have any intention to really compete in this game.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, and neither does Milwaukee. They don't have Giannis, but I mean, the Bucks bench I feel like is definitely better than what Dallas would throw out there, unless like Hardaway gets his minutes and Seth Curry gets his minutes and Finney Smith gets his minutes. It's just so unknown, unfortunately.
Again, would you guys rather go with the unknown or there's certain spots? So that's just what it comes down to.
Best 3K value, Matt. Best 3K value.
I think we touched on that a little bit earlier. I forget some of the names I was throwing out there. I think it came from Milwaukee. Wilson, was he 3K?
Yeah. Oh, DJ Wilson. Yeah. Okay. I kind of like Mia Oni for Utah.
That's a name.
Yeah, I like the cheap guys on Utah. Like I like Moutier. I like Oni. I like Georges Niang. I can never pronounce his name right. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it. Is it Jang?
Oh, never mind. I'm thinking about Gorgeous Jang. I don't know what his. Yeah, I don't know.
No, it's George's. I think it's Niang. I can never forget. Where did he play in college?
Who?
George's. That's gonna drive me insane. I have to look this up.
Power forwards for. So your original question was for
Iowa State.
GPPs.
That's what it was.
High State.
Yeah, I knew it. Yeah, because I remember watching him in the 30. All those cheap guys for Utah is kind of what I like. For
Hold
those
up.
for the 3K spots.
Could DeRozan play power forward all season long?
Huh?
DeMar DeRozan, could he play power forward? Did he have power forward eligibility? I know he plays power forward now, but on DK, did he have power forward eligibility all season?
No.
Okay, so I like him at power forward. That's a good GPP option. Obviously, they still have a shot. I think that's a great option. Kyle Anderson I actually talked about earlier. I like Kyle Anderson as a GPP option because, again, they still have something to play for, and Kyle Anderson is in the rotation. Gary Clark, Melo, all those guys are great for GPP.
Oh, Andrew, Matt, he meant not what teams are going to get hurt, what players are going to get hurt between those 4 teams. Like, he's the most injury-prone guy.
Good luck.
Yeah, that's so tough to tell. If Embiid was playing, I would say Embiid. That God. Most likely to get hurt. I mean, I guess you got McCollum with the back injury, so like that could flare up, I guess.
I doubt it in this type of game.
Yeah, in this type of situation, I feel
He'll
like
play through it. That Mamba mentality.
Yeah. I mean, maybe Val gets hurt, banging down low if Brook Lopez knees him in the nuts.
Okay, we're starting to get a little crazy here.
I don't know. Yeah.
Hart if he plays. Hart if he plays. Yeah, I mean, we talked about the Pelicans earlier. Another team that's going to fly under the radar. Hart's carrying a decent amount of ownership. If there's, I mean, after all the dust settles between all these games in front of it, which you have to take into consideration, Hart then becomes a good play. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, he played 30 minutes last game. Him and Lonzo both, with Zion, Ingram, and Drew out. So yeah, if Hart's in, I definitely like him. Like I said, I feel like if Hart sits, they could sit Lonzo too and just kind of go a full scrubs lineup. And then you're looking at guys like Nikola Melli, you're looking at Eachwan Moore, you're looking at Hayes or Okafor, you're looking at Neil Alexander Walker. So Frank Jackson in the mix, I guess. You even got Kendrick Williams. So I think for those cheap guys, like I've been alluding to, for me it's gonna be Utah. I'm looking for cheap plugins, and the Pelicans. I'm looking for cheap plugins. I think those are your 2 best bets for teams.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and end it here, TJ, because I have a lot of updating to do within the next 30 minutes for both sports of MLB and NBA. Guys, if you have any questions, again, find us in the Discord. We have plenty of leverage sheets for MLB, League of Legends, NBA, all coming out this weekend. Guys, stay in touch with us. We are going to be covering everything NBA playoff related as well when we can. A lot of streams coming down the line. We have a ton of announcements coming out. We should have that announcement by this weekend, I hope. So stay tuned for all that. TJ, any last words?
Yeah, Thugga asked to rank these guys, and I actually do want to rank it. DJ Wilson, Nicola Melli, Eachwan Moore, Tony Bradley, Sterling Brown, and Okafor. For me, I think it would go Tony Bradley, Okafor are the two I'm leaning to currently. Nicola Melli and Eachwan Moore will definitely be affected with the heart news, so I kind of would hold off on them right now. I think Sterling Brown would play more minutes than DJ Wilson, but I think DJ Wilson is more productive fantasy point per minute. So I'm going to rank the 4. I would go Tony Bradley, Okafor, DJ Wilson, and Sterling Brown. You can't do Eachwan Moore and Melli yet because we don't know what's going on with Hart. If Hart's out, then yeah, they'll be probably right behind. I'd put them in front of Wilson and Sterling Brown, but behind Tony Bradley and Okafor.
I think we've had a pretty good conversation this far. If you guys don't know what to do yet, please go back and watch the stream. It'll actually be uploaded right after this, so feel free to go back. TJ gave a breakdown 2 times on the stream, one at the very beginning. If you guys missed that part of the stream, please go do that. And hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day. And let's cash. We'll see you this weekend.
See you guys.
Thinking about tomorrow. And change for something new. Only time will tell, but I'll be holding you. 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 Over the edge, feel like I'm floating through the air. The pain I felt is paid for, all is said and done. I am restricted, fixed upon the web. I need to kick the habit that my mind is breathing in. Break out, I've got to see. Spent all my life holding all of it closely. I played it innocent, a feel of discontent. I'm finally facing it all, fearless. Burning the bridge that keeps us. I'm here and I'm feeling fearless. Exaggerated, that's what you assume. The story's over now, I must conclude. I am conflicted, watching where I step still, hanging in the balance. Not the life I want to live, I want to take it all. Standing tall, fear I weighed the person you are.